wanted to welcome you to the session and see if you had any questions. I'll always start off checking in, doing a check-in before I go to this, just through some of the logistics. So welcome. Any questions?
No, actually, you know what? Please refresh my memory. What is the Zoom? What is it about? Right, because it popped up on my calendar. I'm like, who is this and why am I signed up with this?
Okay, awesome. So this is perfect because I get to tell you about it. So you signed up to learn more about the TurkNet TLG IDEA certificate program. And it is a diversity and inclusion program that we call IDEA, which is inclusion, diversity, equity in action. And what this program is really designed to do is to have people at different levels of the organization really help people start to be seen, heard, and understood. And when you start to think about your diversity and inclusion efforts, many people really, always, particularly at the top, they're always like, well, what's going to be my ROI? And they go into this whole kind of left brain financial, mantra. And people who have been in marginalized groups and who are hoping for, equity and inclusion and moving into belonging, they've been putting in that kind of sweat equity for years. And what they're really hoping is that, people will just stop asking, what are you going to get, and find out what are you going to bring me. And so our program is really designed to help people on the front lines be able to create those conversations. Coaching is a fundamental, skill that really helps people learn more about, what people are going through. And so rather than making assumptions, what we really do as coaches is ask. And so that's what you've signed up for. And that's kind of what the program is about. Does that refresh your memory?
It does now. I believe I saw you guys on LinkedIn, and I'm sorry I'm not prepared to turn my camera on. So
listen. And I think it's really important that you don't feel that pressure either, because see, when we really think about belonging and what that means, it means meeting people where they are. And for some people, they can wake up and get in the shower and their hair and makeup, they walk out, just fine. And depending on your gender identification, it's different. But for some of us, it is a process, that takes a lot. Your hair is a big thing. And I think that is important. When people send that little memo out saying be on camera, I'm like, well, are you making sure I get to the hairdresser and, it's
No, I'm noted. But for me, it's my hair's wrapped up and I have a scarf on. I'm just lazy. Just truthful. I don't.
No, that's fair, but your hair is still wrapped.
Right. My hair's wrapped. I was like, I don't want to comb it down. But anyway, and I don't wear makeup, so I don't have to worry about any of that. So I'm just as natural as they come. But I get what you're saying. Because hence when I started working for a company back here in March, it was so funny because I think the next day he said, okay, he called me without warning, just like you indicated. He said, okay, so you want to turn your camera on? I said, nope. I said, it's not a hair week. He laughed so hard because he had his camera on. He was just red. And I said, well, how we're set up, I can't do that. So he just kind of laughed at me. So, but yeah, noted, but I just didn't want to feel like I was being disrespectful by not turning my camera on.
Right. And I appreciate that. And
you're welcome.
I think that's kind of the conversation to start to help people understand, what does it mean? What does inclusion really mean? And to me, it means meeting people where they are and recognizing that not everybody wants their camera on all the time. And from a brain scientist perspective, we also know that a lot of energy, extra energy, is exerted when people have to have their cameras on all the time. So I'm just delighted that you're here. And now we have someone else that I can also add to the conversation, because this is our open house. And of course, if we were in different circumstances, we would, potentially, be live. But now we're just kind of having a conversation to help people understand what our program is like, and really starting to address, some of the issues that we're faced with in the workplace. Let me try your name, and I very well might get it wrong. And I'm going to ask if you don't mind. I have two potential ways of pronouncing this, but I'm going to say Lori first. And if that's incorrect, if you'll help me with it, I would really appreciate that.
That is correct. It's Lori.
Yeah.
Good job.
All right. Thank you, Lori. So welcome. Lori, this is our open house. And in our open house, we, really just welcome you into the TurkNet Zoom. And I don't always just kind of go through a presentation. I really am always kind of interested in, what your questions may be. And then I'll tell you a little bit about the program. One of the most important things about this program is that it's very much centered around the participants. So yes, we do have a syllabus, but we do throw audibles just like this. We'll stop and talk and say, hey, what's important to you? What's happening to you at this time? And we're more interested in making sure that we're connecting versus just, throwing content down your throat. Like, this is what we have to cover, and this is how it works. In my personal opinion, that's how we got into this mess, needing to learn more about diversity, equity, and inclusion, because we have people who, don't fundamentally understand how to help people feel seen, heard, and understood. And they operate on these, these clocks. Everything is do. When in the real world, we have real people who are experiencing, real life things. And they have so many other things that they're focused on. And we have to learn how to have, conversations with people, and how to move the needle in a way that it matters. So Lori, do you have any questions, or is there anything that's coming, to mind for you in this brief time we have together before? And it's not a before, because this is it. This is what's important. You are. I'm here for you.
Yeah, I really don't have any questions. I didn't know anything about it. I got a flyer from your group, and I said, let me jump on and see what this is all about.
All right. Wonderful. So, and Julia, did you have any questions? Anything on your head and heart? I know you didn't remember putting it on your calendar, but I'm
right. No, I'm good. I'm just here to listen.
All right, wonderful. So one of the most important things that I've learned in this whole Zoom time is to ask this question in this way. And so I think that when we know better, we get the opportunity to do better. So I used to say, can you see my screen? And people will respond in the affirmative. Yes, they can. But then we would not be looking at the same thing. So now my question is, can you see my screen, or what do you see on it?
Yes.
And Julia, yes. What do you see, Julia?
Ideal coaching certificate.
All right, excellent. Lori, what do you
It's the same thing.
All right, nice, nice. So we're all in the same place at the same time, which is wonderful. As we start to talk about this program, I want to really um, talk about a few things that are in the news right now. And the reason why I want to have that conversation is because that's what makes this so relevant and so important. Um, First, let me introduce myself. Greetings and happy day. I'm Dr. Cherry. I have a Ph.D. in social/organizational psychology from the University of Georgia. And excuse me as I do say, go dogs. I am a master certified coach, and I've been coaching since 1998. I started doing this work when I did my dissertation on stereotypes and bias and how that shows up in the workplace. My dissertation and thesis were both published in tier 1 or top journals. And I will not ever tell you that I was excited for the public publications. I will tell you with all my heart and truth that I cried like a baby. And you might say, well, why would you cry if you just have received one of the honors that people work so hard for? Well, I cried because I had to put into the literature that the world isn't as fair as I wanted it to be. And all my life I knew, and I had these little, hints that things weren't as fair as they could be. But when I actually did my dissertation, I was able to show that people will use race more than ability to make hiring decisions. People will use race more than ability to make a lot of assumptions about people. And so what I said at that point and at that time, man, I've got to spend a lot of time, and maybe I should have said woman then. I've got to spend a lot of time really working to educate people so that we can really learn how to help people feel seen, heard, and understood, regardless of their race, regardless of their gender, or other things around their diversity dimensions. What's most important is that we take people and we help them, feel like they really do, they do matter. And, it's like, to me, mattering isn't you always checking up on me, it's checking on me. It's how do you use the skill of coaching to help people in your organizations go from what did happen at the University of Georgia, because I came from Spelman, a really small school. I saw people sometimes were numbers. At Spelman, I was a name. And that's what people really want to be, fundamentally. So the time that I've spent, one of my clients said, you know what, you remind me of a whisperer, and I'm going to call you the DEI whisperer. And it's because what I try to say, it's not about just telling you and forcing myself on you, but it's really about these whispers and asking, are we paying attention to what we're hearing? What's showing up? Because what starts to happen is you have these small whispers that start off with an email, and then they start to yell. And as we think about where we find ourselves today with one of my favorite sports, the NFL, you have John Gruden today or yesterday saying, I'm not a racist. Okay, so we're not saying that you're a racist, but what we are saying is that your behavior, saying that a person's lips were like Michelin tires, that's probably something that isn't going to empower another individual to want to be their best. The way we empower people is by, again, checking in on them, not checking up. Are you coming to the meeting? If I'm coming to the meeting, I'm going to be there. You ask me, how are you doing today? We have to learn the skills that will bring people into our being and not just have them be a checklist. So we do have someone who just joined, and one of the most exciting things in my day is always trying to figure out how to pronounce people's names properly. And why? Because the science is very clear. I've spent, since 1991 learning the science of human behavior and what makes people, connect. And what we know for sure is that human beings have a certain need. We were born to really manifest this whole idea of connection. As babies, none of us could survive without at least one primary caregiver. So it's not a surprise in the workplace that we want to be connected. We want to touch other people, and we might not all be really touchy-feely people, but we want to feel like it's more than me being present. It's more that you're caring about how I show up. And you'll hear people make comments about organizations and places have been made on my backs. And that's many times because they feel that the connection with the people at the top isn't the same as people in the bottom. At TLG, we have an assessment, and it's a diversity assessment. And you can use this assessment to kind of look at your organization. And with one of the organizations we work with, we found that the people on the top were happy. People at the bottom were not so happy. And that's not surprising, because when you have the most goal, you make the rules. And so if you have the goal and don't even understand how the people at the bottom of the organization have diversity, inclusion, and belonging challenges, when you go out and hire a firm to help you, that firm is more than likely going to have that, what we call that like me bias, because you're going to feel comfortable with them and you're going to ask them these same ROI questions that people many times ask me. But the ROI is higher morale. The ROI is people feeling committed to the organization. The ROI is people who want to stay with your organization in a time when it's very difficult to find people who really want to work. So the ROI is really about that connection piece, which comes from us understanding the head is the stuff that we're going to learn in this program. Our hands are the way that we can do things, but when we're doing things, it has to be with a touch that is going to touch the people in the organization from a heart perspective that will help them to be connected. How do I know this? I know this because I started as a left brain know-it-all. I knew it all. Can you figure? And I'm still here. And I say that because now I say, if you know it all, we know that your time on the earth is probably short, because the point that I know now of being on the earth is to learn more. And not only to learn more, but to figure out how do we create a connection with the people that we spend an awful amount of time with in the workplace and make that heart-to-heart connection with them. So I'm going to use some courage and say your name. And if I get it incorrect, let me know. Jamie, is that your name? Jamie Dotson. Want to welcome you to the call. And I will also pause, and I only have a few minutes to see if you have any questions. Anybody have any questions? Okay, feel free to come in on chat. So this program helps us to understand that personality is really at the core. Again, when you have different companies that work on diversity and inclusion, in COVID, people really learned to pivot. So you have some companies that are huge, that many of them started off as accounting companies, and they merged into, oh, here's where the money is. We'll do diversity and inclusion work. And so they do their diversity and inclusion work the same way. Thank you, Jamie, for that. They do their diversity and inclusion work the same way, this linear left brain way. That linear left brain way is all about numbers, right? So it's numbers and production. We're all in business, and we know that the fundamental reason why people are in business is to make money. But we have to recognize that human resources are extremely important, and those resources come with differences and similarities. And as through this program, what we learn to do is how to help them work together in a collective way, or help you be an advocate for having those conversations. If you were in a room, or if you had received or heard that John Gruden from the Oakland Raiders, who incidentally is one of my favorite teams and who my dissertation is started on. So my first study was based on teams that wore the color black and how that color black caused them to get more penalties, and how the Oakland Raiders were one of the very first teams to hire people of color. Al Davis went out and made sure that he had a team that was diverse, and he wanted to win. And so it's two pieces. You want to make sure that you bring in people who represent different diversity dimensions. But if you bring people into a house and your house is only made, and you hypothetically are a giraffe and they are an elephant, they can't fit through the door. So as coaches, what we're learning to do is help the doors get a little bit wider. And you widen the doors by increasing your perspective, by asking questions that make people, again, feel as if they can be seen, heard, and understood. Not just that I'm a metric, not that I'm just somebody who has to show up. You check in on me, not check up on me. And those things bring different attitudes and feelings about how we behave. And so it's really about helping people understand how to manage their mind, manage their verbal, and managing their nonverbal. And as we start to move through this ladder, we want to help people get to that belonging stage. And you can only help someone get to that belonging stage when they feel as if you care. Zig Ziglar said it best: people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so the piece, when I say I was a know-it-all, I am a reformed know-it-all. I went from the perspective very much like many companies. It's about no, do, and that whole left brain knowledge. But knowledge alone is not sufficient to change attitudes, and attitudes lead to behavior. And so if you're not changing my attitude, you're not going to fundamentally get change in the organization. And that's why we need advocates. We need people who can whisper in the organization. We need a safe space for some people to come. People need allies. And in that allyship, you don't have to do anything more than listen and make sure that they are heard, and then get the right people in the room and create these conversations. And that's what this program fundamentally is designed to do, to teach you the way to make these things happen. So we move from diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging, so that we get the right people in the room. We're able to see them clearly and create a strategy that very much helps. I know I only have a few more minutes, Are there any questions, anything coming up for you specifically about the program? All right. So what we do is we go from, we look at the employee life cycle from strategy to make sure that you're thinking about how to manage the process. Let's see, I might have something in the chat. Oh, yeah. Okay, Kathy says chat. Yes, Kathy. Hey, Kathy. All right. So we go through the entire life cycle of an employee and really focus on, you know, what that looks like. How do we strategize, evaluate, and engage? Because engagement is really what helps us. We're thinking about the behaviors, the actions, and the goals. You know, what does it take to help you do this? It's not that we're light on strategy, tactics, and what it takes to be successful, but we begin with the end in mind, and the end is those behaviors. And behavior change doesn't happen if you're always asking me, what's the ROI? What's the ROI? And when people say that, I'm like, the ROI is that your people are going to be with you. And they're really going to care fundamentally, that they're more important to you than just being a financial, you know, person. People want to be seen, heard, and understood. That's what they really want to be. And so that's what we want to help in our program. Give people a cup and a dash of being seen, heard, and understood, and really walk through what that means. So our course schedule, we have a kickoff. We have 8 modules that are 3 sessions each, and then we have a 90-minute. We have 2 90-minute practicums where you kind of teach back and help us to learn some things from you, so you can kind of tell us what you have learned. One of the worst things people can do for you is tell you what you've learned. Our whole process models what we want you to do in the organization. Reach out and touch someone. You know, when AT&T had a great slogan, before we realized that they were funding other things, before all of these things happened. But I'm not a fan of a cancel culture. So I don't believe in calling people out. I want to call people in. And so I certainly am very vocal. And I'm always like, you know, get off my back. Or the new term is like literally get off my neck. But I do it in a way that will hopefully help people the next time that they do something, that they start to think about, you know, how can I bring out the humanity in this person? And through your work with us, I'm hoping that the people in your organization, because this is what we've seen, who touch you, will start to be able to be more engaged and start to create a safe space. Right? Any questions? Any questions coming up for you all? You guys are one of the most talkative groups I have ever had. I don't know. You got a lot to say today. I can tell it's so much coming up for you all. All right, we'll check the chat. Also, if you ever have any questions, feel free to just email, because our approach is natural, it's authentic, and it's real. So it isn't, you take the class and then you're gone. You take this class, you know that you have resources. We'll always be here for you. Definitely, Kathy's always there. And we're gonna be there. The TurkNets have been around for a very long time. I love the opportunity to partner with them. And we do this work not because we have to. We do it because we know that it is important. And I mean, I just can't tell you. I mean, so many of my favorite companies. I mean, Tesla is in the news. Basecamp is in the news. It's just like so many people are in the news. And a lot of times it's because, we aren't having these conversations with people that move beyond canceling them just because they said something inappropriately. It's really helping them understand how to use these behaviors to change the world for the good. And that's all we really want to do. So, Jamie, Lori, Julia, any questions? And thank you for the laugh, Julia. I'm telling you guys are the most active group ever. Yes. But you know what? That is a part of diversity and inclusion. And so I accept it all. It is not a problem. We are thankful for your time. Thank you for your reaching out. And feel free to send an email. You can email us at info@turknet.com. And, any specific questions, they'll get it directly to me. I want to just ask you, as you leave today, to really, take a look inside and ask yourself how well you are truly modeling diversity, inclusion, and belonging. And it doesn't matter what group you're in. If everyone in your circle looks like you, and if you're the smartest person in the room, I'm going to ask you to get a new room. But also, I'm going to ask you to start to continue to reach out past where you are so that we can have conversations and not just canceling. Because, the metaphor for me for canceling is if you do something wrong, people should go to prison. I'm a big proponent in prison, but I'm also a big proponent in prison reform. And so once you've done whatever it is you need to do, we got to be able to figure out ways to help people move through the culture. And so in our organizations, sometimes someone will have a bad performance rating. And that is one of the ways that inequity shows up, because their next manager has already heard about that. So they don't even get the chance to start it with a clean slate. And so a lot of these things are really, behavioral items that we learn and that we'll share. And depending on the group, that will give us the chance to really dive into some personal case studies with you all. If you will be willing in the chat, because I can tell how talkative you all are, just tell me what organizations you're from, and then I'm going to wish you the happiest Tuesday. You will have a wonderful day. If you join us, it'll be wonderful. And even if you don't want to join us this time, if you know someone else who does, we're still here for you. The Turknets have been around since 1987, and they're great people. So welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. Thank you very much, Julia. Thank you, Lori from Emory Healthcare. Great to see anyone from your organization. Oh, wow. Top flight. Oh, wow. That sounds exciting. Welcome, Jamie. Nice. Just top flight. Yes. Nice. I won't put you on the spot, but I'm going to have to Google that. I'd love to know what you all are doing over there. Google that. Top flight. Aero structures. Nice stuff. Wow. Dallas, Georgia. Yes, welcome. Nice. All right. Spot on staffing, Tidewater Financial. Yes, I love it. Oh, wow. Great group. Such diversity. in the group. And just, thank you for being here and participating in the way that makes you comfortable. That is what inclusion is. Inclusion is not when I tell you, oh, you must speak to me. But you can, Julia. I saw you came off. You have something you want to say?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was an error.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate your energy. I appreciate your time. And thank you so much for showing up. And there's more information on the program, and we look forward to you all joining us soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.